welcome everyone to episode.
I guess two now.
Episode 2.
Yeah.
Episode 2 of the pod. Hope you guys have been. I don't know. I guess okay with
everything.
No, I don't think.
Well,
how okay can you be right now?
No one's okay right now, really. I mean,
Yeah, no one's it feels weird. At the very least, things, you feel things are off. Things are not normal.
And that's saying a lot considering where the state of things were prior to this.
Yeah.
Prior to these protests and these police brutalities that's been happening,
2020 has been a year.
Yeah.
A year.
We're barely on the halfway mark.
Man, that's crazy. Yeah, so we're recording this on Wednesday, June 3rd.
Shouts to my brother. Happy birthday.
Oh, yeah. Happy birthday to Michael. Shout out to Michael. And, yeah, guys, where do we even begin?
Yeah,
where do we even begin?
It's been over a week, a little bit over a week since this happened.
Yeah.
In Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
All 50 states have protested at this point.
It was kind of like a back-to-back thing because, it's been over a week since the George Floyd killing, but it's been kind of well over 2 weeks, I think, since the Breonna Taylor killing.
Yeah.
And honestly, right after George Floyd, there was another killing, Tony McDade, and it was just back to back to back.
When you really think about it, it's more than just back. Back to back, is one thing.
Back to back in this short amount of time because, it's not like these killings are new. They've been happening
Eric Garner
since...
was in July of 2014.
Yeah.
Michael Brown was August 9th, 2014. Laquan McDonald was October 20th, 2014. Tamir Rice, November 22nd, 2014.
Yeah.
Walter Scott, April 4th, 2015. It goes on.
This is not a new.
This is not a new thing. This is
by
just
any means.
the final straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah.
And after hundreds of years of this stuff happening, man,
Yeah, I think this one hit probably particularly different because this really was
the duration of that video.
The duration of that video, it's everyone had enough time to really look at the life drain from his eyes. That was brutal.
What was it, an 8-minute, 9-minute video, right?
Yeah, it was a 9-minute video.
Yeah, and you watched every minute of it.
I honestly, I regret watching it because...
But you have to watch these kind of things, at least I feel that way. You can't just hide from these things. Yeah, you're watching a human be murdered.
I don't know, man. I see I see why, a lot of people don't want to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, especially black people, because... they know it's not new to them. They don't need a reminder.
Yeah.
I think, this is... It should traumatize you a little bit, I guess, if this is not a thing that you live with constantly, but I don't know. I think I've made, a decision that it's been well ingrained into my brain that this is a problem. Police kill people, disproportionately black people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, honestly, I might just be done watching the videos because that video, I cried.
Yeah.
I'm not even...
At this point.
I was crying. I was how is this happening right... I feel like I'm watching a movie.
Yeah.
This feels like I'm watching a movie.
This entire year has been like a movie,
Yeah.
A really bad movie. It makes you... what could possibly go next, how long are these protests going to keep going? And, are the cops going to make this, are they going to keep making it violent? Is it going to, eventually end? Are we going to get something? Some kind of crumbs?
That's the thing about this moment is that I actually have no idea. I don't even have any, conjecture to offer about where this might even end up because this really... It feels different this time. It totally feels different this time around in that.
Like we just said earlier, all 50 states are protesting, There's somewhere
Yeah.
in each state, a town, a city, whatever, protesting.
Yeah.
This is different.
Yeah. When was the last time you saw a protest of this scale here in Riverside, in Moreno Valley?
Yeah.
Like, I haven't seen a protest like that.
No, not here.
You know when the last time that I actually saw protests of that magnitude was back in like 2005, I think.
Oh, 5?
Yeah,
dang.
when and I was really young at this time, but I do remember people, and I think actually like my parents went to this, but it was a protest for like undocumented immigrants I don't know, but it was like an undocumented immigrant related protest.
Okay.
Back during the Bush administration when I saw people protesting in Moville, like on the streets in Moville.
Oh, that's crazy. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and ever since then, like I haven't, even during like Ferguson, it's like you knew it was a big moment, but it didn't have that surreal and ethereal feeling because you didn't see it in your own city.
Yeah.
You know? There were no Moville protests for Ferguson.
There wasn't any like Mobile protests at all for sure, and like even like all these deaths that's come up, like there hasn't been anything that's hit us here at home, even in my hometown in Victorville, like there are people protesting, like, and it's interesting to see like how it's this one, like it took this last one, and like maybe it's because like the length of that video and like how clear in day,
and just how brutal and traumatizing it was.
Yeah, dude, like that. How do you even?
It was just the blatant. There's just so many aspects to that video. First of all, the blatant killing, obviously, that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
The officer, Derek Chauvin, putting his knee on like George Floyd's neck for 9 whole minutes. The officers clearly watching him kill this man, not doing anything, standing by, his like pleas for help. It was just like an elongated video of torture until someone dies.
Yep.
And like you really see the brutality of it. Not only that, like after George Floyd was clearly unresponsive, honestly clearly dead at that point, they still, like, Derek Chauvin, you see him kind of like disassociate. Like this dude pretends that he's not dead, and they still did the theatrics of getting him checked by the EMT after we knew like this, like he clearly died. He's dead. Yeah,
there was. I mean, they did it in front of. They did it in daytime,
in daylight, in front of a crowd.
Yeah, and
just an indiscriminate killing. Yeah,
it's just hey, like like it had to be this one, man. Like I mean, granted, it should have been like long ago. We should have been like protesting this kind of stuff, but like, yeah, when you look at this one's a little different. This one hurts a little bit more.
And I think the reason why is obviously because of social media and the way that how easily we can share things nowadays. Because this is by far not the most brutal killing. I mean, even if you think back to Emmett Till, for example, that boy, they mutilated him, they tortured him to death, and his mom had an open casket funeral so people could see, and that was before the age of social media, and maybe only the people that went to the funeral really got to see the brutality of everything that happened. But now with social media,
well, that's the thing. It's like with social media and with all these platforms that we can like get our voices like heard, and we can start publicly shaming police officers, for doing these things, and just overall people in general. It's like we get to put these things to light, and now we get to make a stand, and if we had this tech back in the 1920s, who knows what it would be like today.
And not only that, I think it's also coupled with the fact that COVID is happening. Like this happens on the tails of COVID, which if we're talking about, like we just said, like when is the last time you saw something happen nationwide, protest nationwide over a police killing, right? To this scale, to the point where everyone is protesting. People in Mobile protested, and I haven't seen that since I was a child, right?
People in Victorville protested, and I've never seen that.
Right? Yeah, and that, like now it's hitting everywhere. on the tails of COVID, which I think added like that extra layer of, what's the word? Not solidarity, but I guess something that everyone is collectively going through, because COVID was a global pandemic. We all quarantined. And you and I talked about this when the stay-at-home order first took effect. We're like, I can't believe this is real right now.
Yeah, it just had that like surreal moment.
That surreal feeling.
This is like the second time in this year that surreal feeling of like, I cannot believe that this is happening. You know? Like, country's not going to be the same after this.
Yeah.
You know, nothing's going to be the same after this. You know.
And it was that we're all quarantining, so everyone is kind of going through it collectively. Everyone collectively went through either losing a job, losing income of some sort.
Yeah, dude.
Just a lot of ways that people are realizing, like, we are collectively being fucked over. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, make no mistake, police brutality affects disproportionately poor people, but I think it obviously predominantly is a black issue.
Yes.
You know, let's be honest, because police killings are disproportionately black people.
Yeah.
And this was really, like you said, the straw that broke the camel's back. Mm. Because we're coming, like, off of the tails of everyone experiencing this quarantine and this loss of income. And now everyone is experiencing this collective outrage. And even though this is, you know, I guess you could call it like a Black Lives Matter led issue, it's still everyone, the brutality of it, like we just said, everyone saw it, you know?
Yeah.
And everyone feels like the way that I felt watching that was like, they really don't care what you think. Like, everyone feels collectively like these cops really don't, they murdered someone. They murdered a black man, like, in broad daylight in front of everybody, knowing that it was going to go viral, knowing that Black Lives Matter is a movement, knowing that countless other victims of police, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, this is not, they did it knowingly, and on the tails of this, I think that really helped, I guess, propel this into the national spotlight.
Yeah. It was like the reaction to everything is just, oh, okay, well, they'll make fun of it. You know, they put that on Black Lives Matter, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't know, man. It's like, how desensitized can you be as a cop, you know, to human emotions?
You have to be, at this point, you don't have any self-respect if you're a cop at this point. You don't have any how can you, like, you have to be mentally ill, honestly, to be a cop at this point. I know that, like, might sound, like, politically incorrect or whatever, and it's not to, like, demonize mental illness, but there's something wrong with you. There's something wrong with you in your head if you're a cop right now.
You know, it's...
How can you see all of, like, if you're a quote-unquote good cop, anything close to a good cop, you've quit, or you're going to quit. You know what I mean?
That's what I want to see. I don't want to see knees to the ground. I don't want to see...
Yeah, none of that, like, performative bullshit.
Man. I don't want to see that at all. I want to see badges on the floor, and I want to see uniforms taken off.
Yeah, it's just that whole kneeling with the protesters, marching with the protesters.
Or, like, yeah, it's all bullshit. Like,
it's all bullshit, because why now? Why at this moment, when the real solidarity is, quitting your job. Mm-hmm. But honestly, the real solidarity, if we're going to be, like, practical and pragmatic about it, the real solidarity would be, at the very least, cops showing up to city council meetings and be like, hey, we don't need all this funding. Hey, we don't need fucking military-grade weapons to patrol local communities.
What they need is
community aid and funding teachers, and you know what I mean? If cops really cared about the communities, first of all, they would live in the communities that they police.
Mm-hmm. How do you take care of a community if you don't even live there? You know, like, I'm like, I'm baffled by that. Most like that. It's like cops are just commuting to towns, you know, and well, that's the thing too. It's like cops that kill people. You know, they just get transferred somewhere else. You know,
Yeah, it's like the Catholic Church, kind of.
Yeah, a priest rapes someone.
Yeah, they're just
and
gonna
then
transfer them
okay, we're gonna
somewhere
transfer them
else.
somewhere else. You know,
Yeah,
they
it's like
can't.
a mafia of murder, of state sanctioned killings, and yeah, this really begs the question, like, who do you protect? Who do you serve? Why do we have the police? The whole point of having a police is for people to feel safe and for people to have a resource when shit goes south, someone to turn to, someone to be. Me personally, every time I've actually called the police has never done anything for me.
Yeah, dude.
I've had my house broken into. We've had the family business broken into multiple times. The police have never done anything for me. First of all, they don't get there on time. When they do get there, they file a police report, and that's it.
That's pretty
the police report doesn't. It's just a file. It's a file. It's an archive in a fucking drawer somewhere in a file folder. Nothing comes of it. Okay, this is a side story. It's just super anecdotal, something that happened to me. When I was a senior in high school, I came home, and it basically the way like my schedule and like my family schedule works is I would get home before anybody got home. So when I got home from school, I would be home alone for a little bit before everyone else got home. So I came home to two guys trying to break into my house, and so we called the police. First of all, they get there like an hour later, an hour after the fact. And when they got there, I'm like, well, they're clearly gone, right?
Yeah.
I've been in my house for an hour now. They're clearly not here anymore. The police shows up. They're like, all right, you step outside for a second. And the first thing they do is they draw guns and go into my house and like check every room. Like, come out, wherever you are. I'm like, it's been an hour. There's no one here. I've been in my house for an hour.
Yeah.
Like, it's the performative bullshit. And then after that, the next thing that they did was that they took me in the police car to identify suspects.
Okay.
And what they did was they rounded up 5, like, random black kids from the neighborhood.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn.
And I'm like, those kids...
Did they even, like, ask you a description of the burglars? Or...
They did. And, I mean, and the burglars were 2 black guys, but that's all. And I just described, like, I don't know, basic clothing. They didn't have, like, any descriptive shit. So I just, like, said what... And they just rounded up, like, 5 random, like, black kids in the neighborhood that were clearly, like, not either of the guys that I saw.
Okay.
And I'm like, you just, like, harass these kids. You arrive late, and then you just pick up 5 random, like, black kids from the block. Tell me to identify one of them. It's not one of them, obviously, because whoever it was, like... fucking left. And
well, yeah, who'd stick around for an hour after robbing a place or trying to break into a place? You know?
Exactly. Like, I mean, those kids that were trying to break into my house, they saw me and they booked it.
Yeah.
And also, it's the kind of thing where, like, even if you did catch them, like, what do you think would have happened to them? And also, why did it get to the point? Why are they breaking into houses? What does that say about the community that you live in, that kids are resorting to
breaking into houses?
Yeah. But that's what I'm talking about. Like, they rounded up, like, 5 random kids, ruined their days, and did nothing for me. It's like, what function does the police serve? Anytime that they've broken into the business, they go and file a police report. Nothing happens. Yeah. The police have never done anything for me or anybody that I know.
Yeah, no, honestly, I can't say any stories of that, you know. They're just there, you know, just file reports and give tickets, you know. And give tickets.
That's really the only functional thing I've ever seen cops do is give speeding tickets and traffic tickets.
I've never had a positive cop experience.
Me neither. Yeah.
Like, I've never had a moment of, like, I don't know, anything positive with a cop. It's always been like either a ticket or like you see them chasing after someone, or you know, you just hear about them killing people. Yeah. You know, and that's it. Yeah. And I don't believe there's a good cop because...
How can you be?
Well, like, no, how can you keep quiet, you know, about the bad cops? Yeah. Like, if you're a good cop and you've been in there for a while, you gotta know something, right? I'm not saying, like, you have to. Or
even if your, like, specific department never killed anyone, you know that there's a culture there that would protect a cop if they did.
Yeah, there's, like, a brotherhood there. Yeah. That is just so sacred. And you can't break it. Like, I want to see accountability, you know?
Yeah, some real accountability.
Like, if you work with someone at whatever job you work at, and they just suck ass, and for some reason they just don't get fired for some because
Like, how do you?
you have to work with them.
Yeah.
Ideally you get them to work with you. So why can't the good cops just try harder to make the bad cops even, or just hold them accountable?
Because the good cops get arrested whenever they do they'll get framed for something.
Yeah.
Or like straight up killed. Like there's been there's been like stories of quote unquote good cops like trying to report someone or makes whatever change, and it's a mob, dude.
Yeah.
It's a mob.
It makes you think
they'll excommunicate you. There's stories of cops being killed.
Yeah.
For trying to speak up. Whistleblower cops.
Yeah, I can, because you got to think about it. The bad probably outweigh the good,
Yeah.
So, if there's never any good coming out of this, it makes you think who's really running it, the good guys or the bad.
I mean, it's just that the whole like institution of police is like it has to be called into question at this point because it's been too many incidents for you to be like it's a couple bad apples.
Oh yeah.
It's not, police brutality is not a fluke, it's a feature. The police is functioning the way that it's supposed to.
Yeah.
And that's what calls into question, why is the police there? Well, the police is like one of the last actual avenues for businesses to get protection, which is why you see like the emphasis on the looting and the curfews to protect the businesses, and you see cops posted up and like protecting the businesses and all of this, and that whole when the looting starts, the shooting starts. Which, by the way, I didn't know, but my sister like sent me the quote, but it was a quote from like a racist police chief from like the civil rights era. So think about it, like even back then that was the mentality.
Yeah, I mean,
and looters have always been demonized, and like law and order will come down on you. Why? Because the police are there to protect.
Yeah, and justice will prevail.
Private property. Yeah,
and that's their whole thing with it. It's just I don't know, like I didn't know that was like Trump quoting. Anyone.
I didn't know either.
I thought he was just riffing. But for him to say that, and then for him to backtrack on that. Like the next day, how do you backtrack on that? As if you're gonna quote someone, you can't be like, I didn't really mean that, I didn't really mean that, as like something hateful, but he did, like he.
Well, I mean, and this is like a side note, but that's something like Trump has always done. Low-key, that's why like Trump never loses in like. Like, you're never going to have an aha, gotcha moment with Trump.
He just won't admit it.
Because he's just, like, a master of, like, of spin.
Yeah.
And, like, media narrative. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, attacks just brush off of him because that's just how he handles them. He handles it like it's nothing. Which is, I wish we had progressive politicians that did that same thing. But instead we have, like, dumbass Democrats who will placate towards any, like, the most minimal right-wing criticism they will address. Things that shouldn't be entertained. It's just throw it all away. The whole system is
it's gotta go.
It's gotta go.
It's gotta go, bro.
All of it has to go. I mean, you saw Joe Biden. He was like, cops should shoot protesters in the leg.
Yeah, let's shoot them in the legs, and not the heart.
Yeah, sure, I saw a tweet that was like, that's the most accurate description of Democratic Party policy that I've ever seen, and yeah, that's pretty much it. If you, yeah,
I agree. That sounds just about right, and it makes you really think, like, man, are we really gonna vote for this guy? Like, are we? Because like he's evaded so much in the 3 years that he's been in office, And it's just crazy to me how this final year, everything just took a shit. Like World War III was like rumored. Coronavirus started coming out, and now we have protests for police brutality, and it just makes you think: is this guy really gonna blow like a 37-0 lead or something like that? Like, is this guy really gonna like do that? Yeah, because it could be possible. I mean, at this point, and if we get Joe Biden, if we get Joe Biden, when is he gonna like announce his cabinet? You know, like
Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, my hope really is at this point that like I kind of see like on the Twitter streets people now with the protests going on and people reflecting back on like the Baltimore riots and the Ferguson riots and everything that happened while Obama was in office, seeing that like hey, these protesters got brutalized too and Obama was in office.
Yeah.
Maybe that guy is like not I mean that thing about Obama drinking like pretending to drink Flint water. Like people are talking about that again.
I've never even heard of that.
You haven't heard of like that? So when the whole Flint news came to light about them having contaminated, which in the background of all of this, Flint still has poisoned water.
Yeah, let's a little reminder.
The little reminder in the this entire time.
Yeah, in case you guys were still wondering, you know.
We live in a hell country, but Obama went to Flint. And they like pretended like, oh, we fixed the pipes, everything's good. And he was giving like a press conference at Flint, and he like stopped in the middle of his speech. He was talking, and he like cleared his throat. He was like, actually, can I get some water? And they brought him out like a glass of water, and he like pretended to take a sip from it, and he was like, oh, it's fine. He like, and you know what I mean? Like with that gesture, he was like. It was a whole thing. Look it up on YouTube. It's like outrageous.
Yeah, it's like well,
like please stop giving Obama. But he was shit. Obama was shit. Obama was a shit president. I need everyone to acknowledge like Obama was a bad president. He deported my grandparents. Side note, he was not a good guy. He did a lot of bad things.
He droned people.
He droned a lot of people. He deported a lot of people. Those pictures of kids in cages, a lot of those are from the Obama era. He fucking brought down the National Guard on a lot of protesters. He tear gassed fucking everyone. Standing Rock happened under him. He's not... You guys need to let him go.
Just let him go.
Let him go. Obama was shit, dude.
He's just been... You know, he had a really nice smile and talked really well. You know?
Yeah, he's just a pretty guy who talks pretty. He's just as racist as the other presidents. He's just as much of a warmonger as the other presidents. He's just as corrupt as the other presidents. His cabinet was put together by Citigroup.
Yeah.
Like he's let him go. Like you need to, if we want real systemic change, it's not going to come from electing Biden or electing any progressive for that matter. Like we really need to think about changing the way we do things.
Yeah, like this two-party system doesn't work. It won't work.
It won't work. Bernie was the compromise.
Even then, no.
And even then, like we were just talking about it earlier. I don't know if as of today, Bernie put out like he proposed a set of reforms for police, and he had the audacity for one of the parts of that reform to include raising the wages of high-ranking police officers to incentivize them to do their job better. Like what? We're not going to be saved by electoral politics and by politicians.
We need radical change, bro. We need them to be defunded. Like they need to be
super stripped down of funding, demilitarized as fuck, and that's a start, dude. I mean, there's people talking about police abolition altogether, which I think sounds great and all, and don't get me wrong, I'm for that. Replace policing with community aid instead. And that would be great if we saw that in my lifetime. But I think if we're talking about like real, pragmatic, like expedient political change, I think a start is defunding and demilitarizing. You know, and if we can get to police abolition later, that'd be awesome. And we found a better way, more compassionate way to do things, that'd be awesome. But as a start, defund the police. Majorly. I think a lot of people would be surprised to find out that pretty much everywhere that they live, if you look into your city's budget, either at least half, but in a lot of cases more than half of your budget goes to the police. Like straight up. Even Movals, I forgot to tell you, but I looked this up.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
nice.
Like budget meetings. And that was the case in Long Beach. In a lot of places, that's just the way that across the country, it's a fucking mafia, dude. The political power that police has.
Yeah, it's like all on top of that too is like they get so much, like they get so many like benefits as well, just from companies just giving like whether it be Starbucks and giving like free cup of coffee.
Yeah, Chipotle does half off.
Half off, it's just and overall it's just the perks of being a cop and you get to get away with murder.
Yeah, like on top of
on top
of your half off meal at Chipotle, you can also kill someone and get away with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Why do we do things this way? Why do we let this happen?
We can't do this for like teachers, or we can't do it for doctors.
Exactly.
We can't do it for any of them.
Man, and if we're really being honest, it goes even further than like what we do politically, but like socially. Mm. And I think we briefly talked about this, but the propaganda around cops.
Oh, yeah.
Like, why is Brooklyn Nine-Nine a thing?
Yeah, why?
Let's start there. Like, why is there a show about
Family
funny,
Matters.
Lovable cops? Family Matters.
Yeah.
Fucking the Paw Patrol, dude. Like,
Paw Patrol.
Why
Granted,
does there need to be a kids show about cops?
Yeah, it's just like I didn't watch Paw Patrol, and like Family Matters I watched as a kid.
Me too. Yeah.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine I didn't really watch, but
I did watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and I liked it.
My roommate loved it too.
It's a funny show. It's a funny show.
The snippets I would watch. I mean, I love Andy Samberg.
Yeah.
Like great guy. But the thing is, like, why does it have to be cops? Why does it have to be romanticized?
Yeah. Yeah. Why do they have to be romanticized as a profession and glorified as
detectives
as heroes? Too. Detectives. I mean, yeah, detectives are seen as like, oh, these cool. They're not really cops, and they do the important work. They investigate things, but no, detectives are cops too, and they. Honestly, this is a whole other thing we can get into about detectives being able to like get off on like, well, I'm a detective, but they're not any more hardworking than a regular cop, which already says a lot. It's not like cops go the extra mile or anything, but yeah, I mean, it's a whole political and social culture that cops have dominated, really, in the country. Like, why is there such a reverence towards cops? Why do we humanize cops in a way that cops don't humanize black people, people of color, and poor people? And you know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
Like, yeah, it's an entire thing. It's a whole thing that it's gonna take a lot of work, but
I don't know. Do you think there's like an end time coming?
I think there's...
As far as, like, the protests go?
I think I'm going to be very disappointed if, like, really nothing comes out of this in terms of, like, some kind of something that's passed. Like, I don't know. I honestly, this is, like, one of the times where I'm like, I don't even have conjecture to offer. I don't know what's going to happen. But this feels
Do you think it's just, do you think it ends with... like all those cops being trialed that were involved with George Floyd, or would it go further?
I guess my fear is that it would end if those cops were, I don't know, because
go ahead.
So okay, on the one hand, I think that like it would do a lot if the 4 cops involved in George Floyd's murder were indicted.
What's after that?
But here's the thing. It kind of depends. How harsh is the punishment going to be? Because I think if they're indicted on a bullshit charge and they end up getting, if the punishment doesn't end up matching the crime, I think people will continue to be outraged.
Oh, definitely.
And I hope, but that's the thing is like, I hope that even if he gets indicted, people remember that it wasn't just George Floyd. Like Tamir Rice, he was 12 years old when he was killed, and his killer never went to jail.
Yeah.
Like, a cop killed a 12-year-old kid
and
never faced any repercussions. Eric Garner's
Eric
killer.
Garner's killer. He was just moved.
Breonna Taylor's killer. I mean, there's just countless Sandra Bland's killers. There's just so many. I don't want people to forget that it's not just George Floyd.
Yeah.
Like, this is a decades-long issue, really, if we're being honest. But in recent times, even then, like, George Floyd is not the only one. There have been so many killings that cops never face any minimal sort of consequence for. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it should end with George Floyd's killers being indicted.
Like, if there was new evidence to a homicide case, it'd be picked up again, right? Like, if we're gonna start prosecuting cops, why not start doing all the other ones? We have them on record, Like, the facts are they still did these things. Why can't we just look at it, reassess it, and finally get justice?
That's a good point. I think the only way that they would get these protests to quell down and for this uprising to quell is if they probably went not only after George Floyd's killers, but if they went after Eric Garner's and Philando Castile's and Breonna Taylor's and Tamir Rice's and everybody else's.
Eric Garner's killer, he just lost his job last year of August of 2019, and since then he's been trying to file a lawsuit to get his job back. What is that?
The audacity.
The audacity. And no, does anyone else know about this? And on top of that, it's just, are we gonna let that slide? Are we gonna let him do that? I don't know, man. That's the thing. It's do we stop with this? If we do, if for some reason we have to settle for something, is it just gonna be we're gonna trial these cops that were involved with George Floyd, and then going forward, cops that do anything bad, is it going to be we're gonna hold them to higher accountability, or?
Yeah, and also I don't know, man, because it's the kind of thing where protecting the police is just so entrenched, again, not only in culture but also in law, with qualified immunity, for example. Mm-hmm. So qualified immunity is, alright, so if a cop kills someone, it's very unlikely that they're going to get actually indicted on a state level or on a federal level, because most likely, prosecutors most likely will side with the cop, judges will most likely side with the cop. That's been the case in a lot of these killings. So families and loved ones of the people killed, one of the last avenues that they have to get any sort of justice is through civil lawsuits. And even then, cops are protected by this thing called qualified immunity, which is basically, I guess you could call it a legal precedent, because it's not even anything written into law, but it's this thing that judges basically practice, that it says that unless the person that was killed or assaulted or brutalized, whatever, knew that their rights were, that their clearly established rights were being violated, their killer, their brutalizer, their abuser, whatever, will get off. And essentially what that means is, for you to prove that you're right, that your clearly established rights were violated, your lawyer is going to have to cite an exact similar case that you went through where the cop got prosecuted, for you to be able to get that justice, that half-assed justice, really.
Well, yeah, what are the odds of that?
And what are the odds of that? It's so, what we're doing is basically making it impossible to hold cops to account in any degree. And that's the point of this. Qualified immunity was started by judges, by the Supreme Court. It was invented by the Supreme Court because the argument was that cops are being held to account too much and they're not able to do their jobs right.
Oh, yeah.
What does that say? What does that say? What does that say to you, that we have to create yet another loophole? They're not being prosecuted at the state level and federal level, so we have to create another loophole at this civil lawsuit level to help them get off. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's a whole other layer of protection. It's not enough that you can't get justice at the state level. If you file a civil lawsuit for financial compensation, not even for them for jail time or anything like that, for financial compensation, even then, the judge will just pull out this qualified immunity.
Boom. Like, we're just...
Like, just think about what that means, qualified immunity. If you cannot prove that there was a case very similar to yours where the cop got actually indicted, where the law ruled in your favor, that cop's gonna get off, like, scot-free. Like, that's a big slap in the face.
Yeah. Just the, like...
That's saying cops are all... Nobody, by the way, nobody else has that option. Like, the judge is not going to use qualified immunity for anybody.
Oh, yeah.
You're not going to be a regular person. You're not... You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Who gets sued, and the cop is not going to use qualified immunity. That only applies to cops.
To cops, man. And just, like, it like, well, looking at these videos, too, it's like cops are doing so many things. They're just randomly, like... jumping on people and running over people. You're telling me if people started doing that, it's okay now?
Yeah.
You know, like, if cops aren't above the law, why can't we just have them prosecuted for trying to
run someone over?
Run someone over. Like,
and
we have the footage of it.
We just saw that. And I'm pretty sure, I don't know if, like, people listening have seen that video yet. I'm pretty sure everyone has seen it at this point. The NYPD, 2 NYPD SUVs, I don't know what you call them.
Yeah,
it's like
SUVs.
Those like SUV type vehicles, basically ramming into a group of protesters holding off the vehicle with a barricade. Like, what? And you're telling me, like, these people are there to serve and protect?
Yeah, it's just...
Who are you serving? What? The people that you're protecting, you're gonna run them over? And it's not that's not the only instance. I actually... And I was thinking about this, like, in this episode, I'm going to link a bunch of places people can donate to. But there's also this other video that came to mind that, do you know Mike Figueredo of the Humanist Report?
Oh, yes.
He compiled, like, a 10-minute or so long video of just clips of cops instigating violence and, like, doing fucked up shit to protesters. And I'm going to link that, too, so everyone can watch it. And this is current stuff, like, right now, having to do with the protests of, like, cops brutalizing people now.
So he started, like, just making a compilation video of,
yeah, it's not even, like, him giving news or talking or anything.
Yeah,
it's just compilation, yeah.
But it's all of the recent protests and how cops are just going around inciting violence, you know, and just having their fun.
Yeah.
Doing cop things.
Cop things.
You know. But...
Yeah, essentially. Yeah, like, if this moment really doesn't radicalize you and, like, I don't know, man. And I know, like, what do you think about, like, for example, the people who have, like, cop family members?
Oh, man.
Like what do you make of that?
My heart goes out to them. Yeah, my heart will go out to you guys if you're against your parents' occupation, your family member's occupation, whoever they are in your life's occupation, you know. I mean, like, if you have the willpower, I mean, maybe you should be like, hey, maybe you can get a better job. Something you might want. Something
you might want to look into.
Like, I don't know, man. Like, it's hard because, like, I love my family too, you know, and my family don't agree. Me and my family don't agree on any of this stuff, you know, and. Well, I actually haven't asked them, like, their opinion on this exactly right now, but knowing their track record, it's not the best. It could be better than I think it is, but it's probably not exactly what I want it to be. And the thing is like, for me, that's okay because it's my family, but none of my family members are cops, you know, like.
It's a different dynamic.
Yeah, and even then, with my family, it's still not okay because after this, man, like, I'm done with this, man. Like, I'm done defending this. Like, I'm done telling them this is wrong. Like, I just want to, like anytime I just have these conversations with my family, I just want to tell them, like, hey, I don't even want to go even further because I'm going to start bringing up stuff and we're going to go on this long, long, long conversation that I don't want to have with you guys because this is like talking to bricks. And it's, I don't know, like, with anyone else who's, like, also experiencing that with, like, just, you know, family, you know, that disagreements on this entire thing, you know.
Man, it's complicated.
It's a complicated thing. Like, how do you go against your family? Like, hey, yeah, no, guys, you gotta stop, you know.
This reminds me of this, and it's not really, it's not the exact same situation, but kind of comparable. I saw this tweet of somebody said, my sister sent me a TikTok of a white girl crying. I don't know if you've seen this.
No.
So the tweet said, my sister sent me a TikTok of this white girl crying because her parents said that George Floyd deserved to be killed and he had it coming, and if he didn't want to die this way, he shouldn't have done anything wrong. And this white girl is talking about it, and she's like crying, and she's like, how can my parents say this? I hate this family, I don't want to live here. And it's like these like middle class suburban Gen Z white kids are coming to grips with the realization that a lot of us have already known, but like their parents are like
them.
It's reaching them.
Yeah.
And it's that kind of, I hope that same like catharsis is hitting honestly people who know cops in any capacity. Like, yes, like you probably, I know you that love, feelings are complicated. That love is not going to go away overnight. You can love someone who's bad. Like, that's not, you know, those two things someone can be bad and you can love them.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there has to be like a social awakening, like at this point. Like, yes, we've been knowing the police is bad, but we really have to register that the police is bad. Like, you cannot see everything that's happening and come away with
this is
a few bad apples narrative.
Oh,
it's systemic.
Definitely not. Like, and if there are a few bad apples, why aren't we weeding them out?
Exactly.
Like,
exactly.
If good overpopulates evil, if good's gonna triumph, win.
Exactly. Even if that like few bad apples narrative was true, those few bad apples don't face any consequences.
Oh,
so what's the point of bringing up that excuse?
They're just leaving them on the tree, hoping that they're gonna like get better.
Yeah, like what? It's just that you can't. I feel like we're reaching that point where you really can't. You can't deny it. Like the police is, to put it mildly, this whole police thing is not working. Like this is, or rather, it's working the way it's supposed to, but it doesn't work for the masses.
Mm-hmm.
Why is the police there? They're protecting private property. They're showing you blatantly like what they're doing. Why are we as a country more prepared to mobilize against protests than a pandemic?
Yeah.
You know?
And like why?
What does that say about where are our priorities?
Dude, like, I mean, goodness, like, can you? It's just crazy to think that we had white people protesting, like, just last month.
Armed to the teeth.
Yeah, imagine if any of these peaceful protesting, you know, sites had a couple guns, you know, a handgun or two. A cop got wind that there was a handgun in the crowd.
Oh, it would have been a massacre.
Oh, for sure.
They would have shot, not rubber bullets. That would have been enough of an excuse to. Or on the other hand, maybe that's why they don't shoot the white people, because they're armed.
Maybe. I'm not saying do it, guys, but
maybe we need to strap up.
My family has said that too. Like,
I'm talking this big talk. I'd be too chicken to show up to a protest.
Yeah, no,
but strapped up.
So that's the thing. It's like,
and that's not the point either. Like, I mean, and I don't knock anybody that goes armed to a rally, whatever. At
this point, the gun thing has changed. My whole views on guns have changed so
much.
Oh
yeah, 100%.
With the pandemic, it changed, and now even more so with this. Like, it's just added on to that. Like, I used to be so anti-gun. And, like, last year, like, before this pandemic, I was like, no, we don't need guns.
Yeah.
We don't, like, I was like, society has moved past the need for guns. But, no.
Clearly not.
Clearly not.
Yeah.
And it makes you think, it's like, well, with the pandemic going on, I was thinking, like, I need to get a gun. Because, like, if people start, like, invading homes, you know, for food, in case these essential businesses go down, grocery stores and all that, you're going to need it to defend your home. But then with the protests, I started thinking, like, well, fuck, man. Like, Civil War might be around the corner.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's scary, and yeah, I think I have like also evolved on the guns issue for sure, where it's like, I mean, let's be realistic. You know, you can't be in every single instance anti-gun, but I think I am like pretty confidently anti-gun on police, because even like in the worst case scenario, you're facing off against someone who's armed. I'm sorry, but you chose that job. You know what I mean? And I don't know. Actually, I don't know. It's a complicated.
That's the thing. It's like it's not going to happen though. It's like with the Second Amendment around and how Americans just feel about guns overall. Like cops aren't getting their guns taken away. You know, if anything, I feel like cops should learn how to like just shoot somewhere else. If not shoot at all. You know.
I don't think that's going to happen. Dude.
Yeah.
I think actually. Well, if we're being pragmatic, I think one of the best things we can do is like examine like why do people knowing everything we know about cops, why do people still choose to become cops? One of the reasons probably would be that, I mean, it's a really good job in terms of pay. We were just talking about this in terms of pay, benefits, and hours. Mm-hmm. Like cops actually like make a lot of money. They make a lot of money, and why maybe if we made other avenues for people to make money, if we fixed our priorities and gave people better wages, if we gave people health care so that they wouldn't depend on their employer for all these great benefits, even if they hate their job or whatever. Why do a lot of people join the military? Because they can't afford to go to college.
Yeah.
Things like that, you know, and I've said this before, it's police brutality doesn't exist in a vacuum. We have to look at the system in which it exists, you know, which is really capitalism. It's the capitalism that we have in the US. It's like,
yeah.
I don't know, man. This is not a standalone issue. It doesn't exist in a vacuum. There's context to it.
It's like, I don't know, man. Like, it's hard to. I'm just thinking back now on like, you know, how cops are like depicted on like on TV shows, you know, like older ones where it's like, oh, I'm gonna give this guy a ride because he's drunk, you know, I'm gonna take care of the community. It's like you see none of this, man.
Yeah.
You don't see
like
any
it's a
of this.
fairy tale.
It's a fairy tale.
Yeah.
Like, why is it? Like, why? Why is it there? Like, and why?
Why do you humanize them that way when clearly, like, that's never happened? Nobody has, like, no teen has been out past curfew and the cop is cool and brings you back home and be like, hey, watch out next time, be careful out there.
Yeah.
No, if they can, they're going to take you to jail because they want that bail money. It's a system. They want that bail money because a lot of these prisons are privatized. They're for profit. It's not a standalone issue. We have to look at the entire system in which it operates. Why do we prioritize profit over people? That's why cops treat people the way they treat them, because they're not seeing them as people. That's a profit right there. Yeah. That's your salary.
That's labor.
Why do cops give out so many tickets? Even forget police brutality. Why are cops? I had I forgot where I had this friend. It was like in high school or in college or at some point in my life. Yeah. I had a friend with an uncle cop or a dad cop or something that like told me they have a quota of tickets. How many tickets they have to give out.
Really?
And I'm like, why? Well, because they need to make money.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm not surprised, honestly.
Yeah, so it's not a standalone issue. It's don't get me wrong, it's largely a race issue. Yeah. This is something that like predominantly like affects Black people, but it doesn't just affect Black people. Poor white meth heads in fucking rural America get killed and nobody even knows about either. You know what I mean? Yeah. Native Americans that were brutalized at Standing Rock to protect a fucking pipeline that was protected first by private cops, and then state cops were called in to help. Like, why do things like that happen?
Well, it's like it gets its moment in like on the internet and just goes away. It's like and it's just it's the media's way. It's like not social medias, but it's like mainstream media's way of showing, like, or just covering it, man. Like
and that goes into another thing: why media has an interest in portraying that narrative.
Yeah, it's just there. You don't see the media like pointing out, these peaceful protests. It's not. These aren't really like broadcasted with them. It's just about looters and it's about violence.
Yeah.
There's never anything good, and that's always that's been the trend with mainstream media for who knows how long. When was the last time you saw anything good on the news?
Yeah.
Like, it's never anything good.
Yeah.
Even when things were great and the economy was running and everything was fine, and never good news. It's always something bad because it gets views. People are worrying. People are gonna stay tuned in. No one's no one's hearing anything good.
And even the good news that does come up is like it's like on such a superficial level of like, this fucking valedictorian just graduated high school. Why is it never news of like...
It's like the Daily Show's Zen moment of the day.
Exactly.
But it's like, it's positive for like the news. It's like a small little positive thing.
Why is the good news never like, this workplace just earned a union contract. This place just got wages raised. What, why is it never things that empower people? It's superficial.
You don't have time for that,
And it's not in their interest.
Yeah.
I mean, because
it's boring, bro.
And the companies it's a corporation. The 90% of the media we consume comes from 6 companies. It's an interconnected issue. If I want anyone to have any takeaway from this, it goes beyond just racist police. And don't get me wrong, not to minimize it, but to contextualize it and to strengthen it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because if we really want systemic change, it has to be just that, systemic. It's not just going to be giving racial sensitivity training to police. Because guess what? There are black cops who kill people too. You know what I mean? It's a larger issue than that. And the fact that cops dehumanize black people and kill them indiscriminately and disproportionately jail them is not a standalone issue. It's the tip of the iceberg. And it's a very important tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
Because those are human lives at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And it's a centuries long. Doesn't take away from the fact that this country is built on stolen land, first of all, and built on slave labor. To this day, prison labor. It's just interconnected.
Slave labor, prison labor. You can tomato. That's the thing. And man, like, we need change.
Systemic change.
And it's scary what's gonna happen. We don't know what's gonna happen. We don't know how we're gonna get this change. We don't know if we're gonna get like served breadcrumbs. Like, that's the one thing I'm worried about. If like we do all this, like history says, we're gonna protest, get crumbs. Protest, get crumbs.
Protest, get crumbs.
Yeah,
let's repeat. Yeah.
I don't want no more of that. I just want some kind of like real monumental progress.
A revolution.
I mean, hey, a revolution would be nice, Bernie. But if you stood in, bro, who knows?
Yeah, man. So I think this is a good place to, because really we can go on forever about this. I think this is a good place to call it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'll be linking in the description of this episode different community bail funds that you can donate to. That compilation of police instigating violence. And any other useful resources that I think of after we're done, I'll link those. But yeah, I mean, yeah, that's all I have to say for now. Just
stay strong, guys. Stay safe. Really, please stay safe. If you're gonna protest, keep it peaceful.
Keep it peaceful and don't fall for any performative bullshit about I'm gonna kneel with you. No, I saw a tweet that was like, if you need to stop yelling, kneel with us, march with us, and start yelling, quit your job. And that's a start. Yeah. So let's start there, man.
Or, just I just want accountability, I'd love to see accountability.
Like, why is that so controversial? Right? Why is that so controversial?
Right? Like, who knows, guys? But
yeah, but until next time,
who knows?
Stay safe out there.
We love you. We'll talk to you later, okay?
Yeah, peace out.